All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Psychedelic Light Show review. I'm your host, Steve Pavlovsky. I'm here with my co-host, Chris Martich of the Brotherhood of Light. And we are here to talk about psychedelic light shows. And this is episode 3. We've been having a lot of fun with these. And, we're just going to keep going. So what do you got for us today, Chris?
Okay, if you think about the word psychedelic light show, you think about liquid lights. And that's what we're going to cover today. We got a slideshow. And actually, the way I first met you was watching your video of a demonstration of liquid lights. Why don't you tell us about that a
Yeah.
little bit, Steve?
Yeah. So I did a video about, just how to do a basic squash plate. Just basically putting immiscible liquids, oil and water, and squeezing it in between 2 plates of glass. And that's kind of like one of the more memorable things of the great classic psychedelic light shows is the squash plate. And I put that video out and it turned out to actually be pretty popular, and it's got almost 250,000 views on there. So
Wow.
yeah, actually did well. It went aluminum. It's
Great. Well,
not platinum, not gold. It's aluminum.
Okay. Well, okay, let's try it on this show here today.
Yeah.
Anyway, shall we go into the slideshow here?
Yeah. So you can tell us about Brotherhood of Light, which was the light show that you've worked with for a long time, and you guys had a very distinct and very refined way of doing liquids. So yeah, tell us about it, man.
Okay, how are we looking on the screen there? We full size.
Pretty good. Get rid of the top bar.
Everything's good. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. So, these are food coloring, and this is what I stole out of my mom's kitchen back in 1967, and started to do. Took her Pyrex plate and got some peanut oil and some water and alcohol, and started to do a light show with another plate on top of that. And so, this is one of the fundamentals. It's simpler than it looks, actually. And we're going to go to on here. And there's Pyrex. Now, I was using round Pyrex, but I want to mention one thing. I saw a guy do this one time, and he just put water and one of those food coloring in. He put some like peanut oil in, and he took a hair dryer and he mounted it on the table.
Yeah.
And he just blew around, and it just kept circling around here.
Yeah.
And kind of made a psychedelic light show liquid look. And I think it looks better than those color wheel things that everybody tends to use.
Yeah.
I've seen them, used.
Oh, you mean like the the wheels, like with the cassettes that actually
right.
Yeah.
I just think it's more natural and looks cooler. And if you had good colors, it would look cool,
Yeah.
So anyway, but I'm going to show you what I use. And here we are. Bam. So
there you go.
And these are the clock faces. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And these are my personal plates. And there's a Duquesne overhead and a presenter there.
Oh yeah. Yep. The visual presenter.
Yeah. And I've got it mixed into a mixer, into a video projector. And what I'm doing here is I'm Justin Kreutzmann, the son of Bill Kreutzmann from the Grateful Dead, hired me to do a bunch of liquid stuff for the Fare Thee Well concert in the football stadiums.
Yeah.
In Chicago and in San Francisco or San Jose area. And so we filmed for a couple days of psychedelic light shows. So liquids, because they want an old school vibe to put up on those giant scoreboards, giant video walls. So
yeah, I remember that. I remember seeing them.
And so here is, okay, so here's the yellow and red plate, which you'll see in action later in the slideshow. Here's another blue plate. And right here in the blue plate where my thing is, it's not quite matured yet. It's kind of skunky looking and weird.
Yeah.
And it's sort of getting ready over here. The red plate's good. And this blue plate, if you can see that, it's ready to go. It's kind of separated. It's ready to make the big patterns. And I'll show you what the big patterns look like. Okay?
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go. It's beautiful.
Yeah. So Brotherhood of Light. Keep go.
Yeah, and so you guys like pre-mix a lot of your plates. Like you're not really doing it on a spot. You have them ready to go. And I know you guys had some pretty high standards about your plates.
Right. Well, Brother Ed and Brian Epps and Bob Pullum and Marcus all did liquids. They were all liquid guys. And they kind of mastered the bottom plate with these really heavy mixes like this to get something that would hold up in the rock and roll environment for 3 and 4 hours, jamming with Grateful Dead or Miles Davis or whoever they would do shows with.
Hmm.
So their plates were, were strong bottom plates, and you can mix stuff on the top, which I could show you right here. I've done,
Hmm.
and
Oh yeah, that's
so
beautiful.
yeah, so you can mix stuff on the top, but the bottom's got to hold up. You got to be able to do that squash plate, that rock and roll, and
Hmm.
get the images going and stuff like that. And so I was taught by those guys, and I was taught their standards of plates. So
Hmm.
if somebody, I'm going to show some slides later, somebody goes, well, that's not really that cool. You're talking about it that way. Well, I was taught you have to do it a certain way to
Yeah.
make it work for rock and roll. Okay,
Right.
so now I put some. Yeah, a red oil and yellow water in here, and I just kind of sprinkled it in, and it gives me that really cool effect. But then when
Hmm.
I pour a bunch of alcohol in, it's the same plate, boom, it looks like that.
And that's the same plate.
The same
And once you
plate.
put that in, yeah.
It changes it entirely. But you can see now, look at the shapes, look how strong it is. There's
Hmm.
nothing edgy or skanky about this plate. It's all clean lines and beautiful bubbles.
Hmm.
And that's the standard of Ed here. There
Yeah.
he is. So
Yeah.
that's Ed back in like 1985.
All right.
And as you can see, he's got Lady Trash. She was involved with and Lou is the slide film loop guy.
Hmm.
And Pete and I took the company from those two people and eventually bought Ed's share out when he got too sick.
Yeah,
With
and
it.
I mean, and Brotherhood of Light, started, we mentioned this in our other episodes, started around maybe like 67, 68, something like that, and was formed from basically these guys were working with other light shows and they decided to form their own light show. Yeah.
Absolutely, and we were just discovering on our pre-show that we really think they kind of utilized the liquids and made it more beautiful, and like, okay,
Yeah.
Gary Fisher, who had a light show, that Fisher Bikes,
Yeah. Yeah.
he said Brotherhood's the best, including Little Princess 109. Jerry Radcliffe said, yeah, they taught me a lot, so I
Mhm.
mean, they were the standard of the killer liquid light show in San Francisco
Yeah. Yeah.
back
It
in the
seems
day.
like the development, like, by the time Brotherhood of Light got into it, because people did this, the squash plate, as it's called. And then you can watch this in some of the other videos I've done, and it's kind of common knowledge now. But basically, you're taking, you know, oil and water don't mix. That's the principle of it. And you take you take mineral oil, add some oil dye to it. You take some water, you take something that's a water-based dye, and the other ingredient that really helps a lot is alcohol, isopropyl alcohol. And I know from, just kind of trying to do research, and I think we're still, who actually was the first person to do that. And I know that there were different iterations of people, squeezing liquids in between two plates of glass, right? Because you put the liquids in, and you squeeze it, and then it makes it move, but it creates an illusion that it's kind of moving on its own, right? But it's people had different ways of doing it, but it's possible that Brotherhood of Light really did push that to another level and refine it. I think, because even though people did it, it wasn't really quite the way that you guys did it, that I think you're going to tell us more about.
Well, they also had really good projectors, were
Yeah.
old school stuff that was all glass lenses instead of plastic lenses, for Nels, and that made a difference too. We're going to go into those projectors right now.
Yeah,
So
let's check it out.
here they are. This is towards the end of Ed's career. This is Ed's nephew here.
Hmm.
That's Whitney with the Nixon mask on, and that's
Yeah.
Pete Rabinowitz, my old partner, or my partner still, who's doing the liquid. And then there's Ed right there. You can see Ed,
Yeah.
and there's Lady Trash bent over and with the mini skirt on, and she's flirting with some dudes. And we got the fans here. The fans built into those machines because they're hot rodded,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Keep
and
them. You got to cool them
and then we
down
got
because
the
they're
metal
already.
bar system that they
Yeah.
built so they could, operate without having a bar in front of them,
Hmm.
which was really cool. And they got the big plates. And so now I'm going to show a modern guy doing the same thing with an Elmo. There he
Yeah.
is.
Oh yeah. There you go. Yeah, that's probably one of the cooler pictures that we have of people doing light shows. That's a neat one. I think he might have a tab on his tongue there.
He's got something on his
He got something
tongue.
on his tongue. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that their liquids are good from this picture. You know,
Yeah.
they're not sticky. You can tell they're bubbled. They're good colors.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I'm going to go to Pete Rabinowitz and myself. This is probably 99. We've got the Elmos.
Uh-huh.
And the Elmo projectors, and they're metal halide. They're 3,600 lumens, and we're in a little tent on stage right next to Greg Allman, and we would make this tent out of it was made out of wood and duvetine, and we would just look like a big speaker box over in the corner of the stage.
Right. And so why'd you, I mean, why'd you guys have to do that? Why'd you guys have to build a box around you?
I mean, you know, if you're like in the Beacon, which we played 10, 15 shows in a row, they don't, you know, they sell every seat. You can't set up front of house,
Right.
you know, and so, you know, at the big amphitheaters, they're just 150 feet away, the front of house. So you need, you know, so we were doing old school, and that's what the operators wanted. So we just set up on the side of the stage. We shot between, like, behind Greg's Leslie and behind the drums onto the white drop that we had in the back.
Right. So it's also so the purpose of that was to kind of, like, you know, conceal you guys, but there was also you know, a functional element, because you would have light, you know, shooting out from the projector itself, not just where the lens is aiming, you know, and that could be kind of distracting.
Well, yeah, the lighting guy would go, "Oh, what's that big bright thing?" You know, or like I said earlier, the last show, the color wheels flopping around with reflecting light back in the audience wouldn't look right either. So we kind of
would that create any? Were you guys like you guys were off to the side a bit, right? So would that create a little bit of keystoning?
Well, you know, liquids are metamorphic, so it didn't really matter. I mean, you know, there was kind of like, it was brighter on one side than the other because we were a little bit closer to the screen.
Right.
But I, you know, I don't
it's abstract. Yeah, I mean, it's abstract stuff to begin with. So
and then I had like video projectors or slide projectors mounted in the truss that were hitting the screen. That were like symmetrical and stuff, and maybe had told more of a picture. So we had kind of that element going, and the liquids were kind of that. You know, the liquids sort of are always sort of like the bass line or the rhythm guitar line of the music.
Yeah, I've kind of used that analogy too. It's sort of like the lead guitar almost. Like,
well,
I guess it depends actually. I mean,
when you're doing a lead, you do a lead.
You do a lead,
But Pete's just jamming and I'm doing the other stuff.
The
hard image stuff. It's, you know, I might be more drums, you know what I mean?
Right.
Oriented, and he might, or, you know, there's a layer of slides in the back there, and then I might be doing a lead also with 3 animation projectors in the center or something. Anyway, let's move on to the next liquid, because the liquid show. Now this guy's Mad Alchemy, and he's got some big plates. Look at those babies.
Yeah, it's like that's 17, 18 inches. Yeah.
And those plates match, man. He's got a nice look. He's got some clean liquids going there, and he's got a Duquesne, which is the best one you can get now. So anyway, I'm gonna go to the next slide. And this is a cool liquid. It's kind of got a hot spot in the middle, but it you know, it looks cool. It's working. This is what we call good liquids. And now this is really unique. This is what we call fingers. And so when you have a good set of plates that match, they're flat and they match each other, you know, like that, right? You can get these shapes out of them, and you can roll it around and move it, and you can get the fingers to go different ways and explode out. And when you get this look, you are happening.
Yeah.
You can build on it, you know. And that's what we want. And so what we did, and to answer your question from earlier, is we mix these plates at like 2 PM or whatever. We let them settle. They break. It takes about 45 minutes, and all of a sudden, then we play with them. We let them sit, and then boom, they break. We call them break.
Right.
And the liquids break into this 2 images.
Yeah, you guys
contrasting.
And you put the, you know, the dyes in, and you let it like propagate on its own, kind of like throughout the liquids.
Right, like I showed earlier in that picture. So I'm going to move on to. I think we'll just cruise on here. To what doesn't look good and what those guys told me. So this is sticky plate. Okay.
Yeah.
That's Jim Morrison.
It's Jim Morrison. Yeah.
But, you know, you get a sticky plate, man. You can't rock, you know, it doesn't move to your hands. So you maybe throw some alcohol in there, and that
Hmm.
might get it not to stick. But
But then
sometimes,
yeah, you mess up the balance of the liquids by doing that, or
if it
you know,
doesn't work, and then okay, and then the other thing was called contamination, and Pete gave me these plates and said go out and do them, and I would mix a set of plates, and they'd look horrible, and they'd work. He calls it contamination. That's
Mhm.
the nomenclature for. The other thing
Right.
is I
Because
mentioned.
you're not getting those like clean blobs, you're not
Right,
getting these
right.
defined shapes that really stand out in contrast. You
Right,
kind of got
that are
these little,
smooth that you can play with
yeah,
and hover with
yeah,
your hands. Um,
yeah,
so, and we call them plates. Okay, other people call them crystals,
yeah.
dishes, but we
It's a
call them
lot of different
plates.
vocabulary.
You
Yeah,
know, clock faces. Which is what they
yeah,
initially are. So this one is called contamination. This next slide,
yeah,
and when they do that dotty, where it's not gelling, it's not
yeah,
becoming one. You might as well just throw it away and start over again. At
yeah.
least that's what I was taught. And it's not gonna happen.
Right.
Uh,
And it's not
now-
meant to be disparaging or anything like that, but it happens. I mean, it happens to everybody's plates after a while. I mean, it's a it's an unpredictable thing in many ways. I mean, you
well,
can control it, but sometimes the liquids kind of, I mean, it'll, yeah, it's you kind of like really got to fine tune it. And so,
what happens, and I believe, we used to bring Dawn, and we would wash our plates with Dawn, and it's a
oh yeah,
degreaser, and
yeah,
so then you put them in and you put paper in between them and stuff. But if you don't wash them good, you got leftover stuff from the last show,
yes,
and it's
oh
sitting there.
yeah,
And then you try to mix a plate with it,
yeah.
that's contamination. See,
I
and
actually
so
try not to. I found that Windex is good. I don't like using dish soap or anything like that because it's, even as we know, the smallest amount of dish soap can really affect like the mixture. It's powerful stuff. So, and I find that it will leave like a residue. I found that using Windex, which has like ammonia in it, which is basically what you want. That's really good for cleaning glass, and it comes off easily. It doesn't leave a residue.
Well, the Dawn,
Dawn,
you got to
you
rinse
got to
the hell
rinse
out of it with
them.
hot
Yeah,
water.
yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to go to another plate, which is not a bad plate. It's the red dye. Okay, the
Hmm.
red watercolor, and this plate's not quite there yet. It may make it. It may become good, but
Yeah,
right now it's a little scuzzy, and you can see there's like chunks and weird shit in here,
yeah.
which basically the red dye doesn't, even though it comes as a liquid, it doesn't. It's not as smooth as the blue or the green or
Hmm.
the brown that guy was
Yeah.
using.
And you
It's
get,
something about it.
and you were saying, about letting the liquid sit, because if you let it sit, like those little spots that you have there,
Mhm, mhm.
kind of look like contamination, they will eventually reconnect, or hopefully, if the mixture is right, they will reconnect with the rest of the mass of the red stuff. So you let it sit there, it'll hopefully,
Right.
uh, come back to mama.
So this is a better red plate that you can see this next shot here,
Yeah.
and it's pretty much happening. But you can still see over here, there's weird stuff. Like you can kind of see the chunks in here,
Yeah. Yeah.
And but the other thing is you've rocked out your plate for like in a progressive song, like a jazz progression type song,
Hmm.
and uh, and so then you like let it sit and you jump over to the next plate and you
Right.
work on for the slow blues or whatever. And then by the time you get back to that other plate, it's kind of settled back in. And
Right,
that's the
because
bottom plate
as you're
too.
moving it a lot, it's going to start, kind of
It's gonna
creating more
it's gonna
bubbles and
it's gonna bubble.
yeah,
This is our X-rated
mhm,
shot here, if you didn't notice.
yeah,
Okay, so I'm gonna go to another plate that's not quite there yet, but it could get there. Okay, this is a blue plate that's not quite happening, but you can
mhm,
see it's starting to.
yeah,
And maybe some alcohol or maybe a little more time, it's going to look like the Brotherhood plate. It's going to look like one of these. Now, these are what this thing will mature into,
hmm,
one of these.
hmm,
And you can see these clean lines here, how nice, beautiful that is, and all this bubbles around here and the contrast. But
yeah,
the problem with this one is not really a problem, but what it looks like is it's got a hot spot in the middle,
yeah,
which means there's a dip in the glass, either in the bottom or the top, that
yeah,
makes, so every time you go down, you get that same look.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it's not bad. You can deal with it, but it can
yeah.
get redundant. Okay.
Oh yeah, yeah, and I found, there's also different ways to deal with it. Kind of like, I found actually that instead of like centering it, if you move it over and kind of use like the edges, your glass goes like this, instead
Mhm.
of like keeping this in the center, move it over a bit, and now you got that like flatter part, of the outside. It'll kind of help, you know, keep it smooth.
So when we're getting our plates, we got our cool bottom plate, this, at 15-inch or 14-inch, and we have all these top plates which try to match them. And when we get a look like this is a
Mm-hmm.
double Corona, man. We are
Right.
happy because you got that middle you can play with and float around, and you're not getting the hot spots are on the edge, and you can whirl them around, and you
Yeah.
can work here or there, but you got that middle that's breaking out in
Yeah, and
these
then
beautiful
and
shapes.
the double Corona. I mean, this seems like a pretty, I guess like pretty hard to come by kind of plate, because I have these things made, and I'm in that business, and it's a difficult thing to make. I mean, I'm willing to bet that this was a handmade piece of glass that came from, that came off a clock somewhere, and because it's
Yeah.
probably got little dips sort of in the sides, I imagine, right?
Well,
Like,
I mean, I would get a new bottom plate. I'd go to Pete's, and
yeah,
he'd have like 20 top 12 inchers, and
right.
we'd sit there and mix. Put a blue plate on a table with a towel, and we just try top plates one after another, and all of a sudden, oh, I got it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's really matching plate to plate.
Right,
Okay,
right. It's they got to match with each other. It's not
right.
a plate by
I mean,
its
that's what
own.
I found out. I don't know if that's true, but I mean, that's what I think.
No, yeah, you
Now,
do. Yeah, they
now
have
here,
to.
this is okay. This is the plate from earlier from the Fare Thee Well, and this is the
Hmm.
yellow water and red oil. And now you can see it's doing a different thing. It's doing a bubbly, kind of more jelly looking, but
Hmm.
really beautiful, really clear. Once again, super clean. That's what I was taught. That's what we do. The Brotherhood. Okay, so now we're going to talk about some swirl plates here.
Hmm.
There you go. There's a swirl plate.
Yeah.
And this one is almost going to turn brown. And I'm going to give you your. Why don't you talk about this one's yours, Steve?
Oh yeah. So this is one of my plates. And then so this is the kind of thing that's like a moment in time. Like this is, you can see that there's basically two bubbles that are about to meet, and during the shoot, I have probably at least 50, you know, like I'm just sitting there snapping and snapping and snapping, right? Because then you find that one sweet moment in time where you get like a really cool, pattern like this. But when that's going to happen, and being able to basically do this on demand or whatever, it's actually pretty hard. It's sort of like mining for gold. You're sifting, and you got a lot of crap, and you should see the other 50 or 200 photos I took of this. They weren't nearly as cool as this one, but once this one came in, it's like, all right, we kept this one.
Okay, so then I'm going to do the next slide. It's called a vertical
Yeah,
tank plate.
it's like
And
like a drip plate kind of. It's not like
well, it's
Josh's.
a tank, and it's actually upside down, and these things drip and make these kind of
Yeah.
weird, cool finger things here. And Joss has used these in his cup design and his
Oh
his
yeah.
fabric design. Well, I do fabric too, but
Yeah. Oh,
liquid
yeah, I
design.
got one of your hats actually up there.
Right. So okay, so all these three plates that we just saw, they all last for about 3 minutes.
Yeah.
The magic. And so with the new modern digital camera, these 4K cameras, and having the proper lighting, you can shoot this thing happen for like the 3 minute it's going to be look cool. And then
Hmm.
you can loop it, and you can play it in your light show on
Right.
your computer or your video projector. And so with the new modern technology, we can take these momentary things and turn them into actual light show
Right.
pieces that work with music.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay,
and
so
I think you can get, in many ways, get more control that way because, kind of if you let the stuff do it on its own, like certain things like a squash plate, right? That you can clearly play to the rhythm and play it to the beat, and you have a good control over getting into the pocket. But if you got like swirlers or drips or something like that, it's kind of doing its own thing. But I find that if you isolate that and you put it on some kind of like a loop or something, you can actually then play that rhythmically, which is pretty tough to do in a purely analog situation. It's got a mind of its own, or they mix into each other real quick or something, and the whole thing's blown out. But yeah, you can by putting this into like VJ software or something, you can actually get a lot more control over it than you would in a pure analog situation.
Okay, I'm going to go to a next slide is Glenn McKay.
Hmm.
And he's got some handmade slides, and he's got a liquid in the middle with in a circular crop. So
Hmm.
he did a show with Dennis Keefe, and it was in a gallery, and he did on a white wall. He had two overheads, and he had a bunch of plates and all kinds of dyes and colors. And he did these swirl drip plate things. And he
Hmm.
just showed, and he had this music that was just a piano. There was no drums or bass or anything, and it was just like ding, 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 and he just
Hmm.
dropped liquids in and swirled them around, and then as soon as it kind of started turning brown, he just faded into the next projector, and then Dennis would grab the plate and wash it. And he just did this for about 45. It was just beautiful. It was amazing. Reed was at that show, and it was great. But
Yeah.
it's not going to happen in a rock and roll environment, and
Right.
unless you're like with Pink Floyd, that's going to jam a weird song for half an hour. It might be,
Then it'll work there, but then you also have like asymmetrical rhythms, or you have stuff that's kind of free floating. So, but by the way, so what if we can maybe analyze this thing right here, he's got like one, seems as he's got 7 projectors, I guess, right? He's got one in the center, and he's got 3.
yeah, he's got
on
three
each side going around.
3 slides, and they're circular, and they're handmade slides. He's got a center with the overhead, and it looks to me, I can't tell what his bottom plate's doing, but he definitely has I think his bottom plate is this yellow. This is probably clear oil and blue water, very light blue water, and then he's got a big piece of red oil on top, and then there's the bubbles from the yellow down below.
Yeah.
See, so that's what he's got.
So the ones on the sides, those are slides, or those are
Yeah, those are slides. Those are painted
okay.
hand painted slides.
Oh,
He
okay.
made this collage and did this portrait.
Yeah.
Okay, so now let's go to heavy water. They've got that mask that we talked about.
Yeah, episode 1.
This stuff's a mask right here, all these little lines.
Yeah.
And then this is open for the liquids. And they just bubble up their plates and kind of let them sit. And then they design slides around them, like on that Santana album cover.
Yeah.
So I don't think they really rock they only had like one overhead in their setup.
Interesting.
So I mean, I looked at them, and so I think they just use a liquid as kind of a design,
Right.
I don't think they beat it around that much.
Yeah.
Like the Brotherhood would do. And here we go to a cool plate, and he's got it's a brown plate, which I've never done, and he's got red water and a blue oil, and he's probably put some alcohol to make the oil come together.
Yeah, and the alcohol, for folks, looking to experiment or just kind of get an understanding of how, what its purpose is. It really kind of creates the bubbles, I guess. The more, like, if you put too much alcohol in there, you're gonna get a lot of like little tiny bubbles. But on the bottom, on the bottom, if you have just oil, like mineral oil and water, it's cool, but it's going to get kind of like sticky, or it's not going to get its defined bubbly shapes. When you add that alcohol in there, and the alcohol that mixes with the water, it changes like the surface tension and the quality of the water, which kind of allows that mineral oil to get more of a curved, shape, instead of just kind of sticking to the plate or something like that.
We don't even use it on our bottoms. Sorry.
No, you don't use. You're not using. You guys don't use alcohol.
Not on the bottom.
Wow.
Only on those dual color plates.
Oh, it's
sticky like that red yellow one. But it's just pure, man. And
look at that, folks. We're learning some secrets here.
and Bill and Pete would build them strong, so they held up all night long. Because I mean, we're playing with Allman Brothers 3 hours, and he's doing liquids for like 2 hours, and in between when we're not doing them. I'm going to go to this next one is I'm doing this plate, and it's one of my double Corona setups, and the oil on top sort of made the bottom stuff look 3-dimensional. It was really cool. Thick red oil that we dyed. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to go right on to the Allman Brothers. So here's Warren Haynes. He's going up. He's going high on the notes, low on the neck, and he's just wailing a lead out, like Elizabeth Reed or something. And Pete's doing just a smashing plate in the background.
Yeah, it's a beautiful background there.
And so once again, when we got hired by these guys. Greg Allman, I mean, he sits there and plays his piano. He leans to the left and he looks, because his keyboard's at a 45-degree angle,
Yeah.
and he's looking at our screen, and he knows what's going on. He was at the Fillmore, he knows what a light show should look like and what liquid should look like. And so does Robert Plant, and so do all these other guys that were there. So when they hired us, we had it down because we were doing what these guys told us. So, and we learned on our own. So we showed up, we were like, like Red Dog walks in on our rehearsal, on our tryout in the dressing room, and he goes, "That's Fillmore East right there, man." So
yeah. And Red Dog was one of the roadies, right?
Yeah, he was on the album cover of Fillmore East on the back, and so drum tech guy, and so he, that's what it took to get the job. It didn't. We just weren't like a dry show with a bunch of cutouts and stuff. We were like a liquid light show, and that's what they wanted. And then the other stuff comes along, the slides and stuff. So I'm going to just jam through some stuff here really quick. This is the Allman Brothers playing Dreams at Mountain Jam. And you can see Greg's keyboard, how it's at an angle.
Right. So he can look over.
He just kind of looks to the left, he's almost looking there now, and whenever, the guitar players are wailing, he just kind of kicks back and looks at the light show, So, and then, okay, this is Dwayne Betts and Devin Allman. I'm using some liquids that I recorded and mixing it on my digital mix. And then this one, I'm real proud of. This next one is Fare Thee Well concert. On the break, they did Portraits of the Dead, and Justin mixed my light show in, and that's Jerry Garcia right back there.
Yeah. I remember seeing that. I was live streaming, and I'm like, oh, there's some liquids over there, man.
Yeah, right. And you did that with one of their live albums. I saw your stuff in a movie theater.
Oh yeah. Actually, there was it was the Cornell. I think it was 77. So they made a mini documentary. And then they used some of my liquids as part of this mini doc, which was pretty cool. It was like the 40th anniversary of the Grateful Dead movie, and so they played it in theaters on 420. And
I went to Hawaii.
Yeah, and then what preceded the movie was that mini doc, which is the Cornell 77 one, and you can see it online. And it was pretty cool. I
think I might have called you up after that.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, here's another one. This is cool. Pete's
doing this is a nice one.
He's got the V4 going, and I'm keying some digital stuff in there. He's got this, mirroring going. So now we can do mirroring.
And the V4, for folks who knows, it's a classic. It's a video mixer, and it's a very performance centered video mixer. A lot of times the video mixers are made for like broadcast TV or something like that, but this is a video mixer designed as to be used as a performance tool for VJs.
Okay, I'm gonna rip through
one of the effects. Yeah. But I really like that one. Yeah, this is another good one too.
Yeah, well, that was done in Photoshop.
Oh, okay.
But a friend of mine did that, who took some pictures, but just kind of cool. That's the clean liquids again. Now here's one of my favorite Josh shots.
Joshua White.
Yeah. Fillmore East, and the liquids are clean in there, man. They're not funky. They got the shapes, and they've got a bunch of multimedia pictures of the band. Jimmy in the middle of the liquids, which is really cool. And then they got some stuff on the side, and they just did great light shows. And this is a modern look that I'm doing now. This is what I do now, which we're going, but these are old school liquids that have been mixed, and I recorded them, and then I bring them in and do them for the same songs that they were recorded in, like Dreams,
And you're adding the mirroring, effect on it, which I think you guys were probably like pioneering on, because it's kind of the type of thing you couldn't really, you could do it, optically, but it's a lot easier to do it with a video mixer, which has this effect where it'll just like split the screen and mirror itself and gives it this cool kaleidoscope thing. But I really didn't see anybody really doing that to their liquids until you guys started working, and and we're able to start incorporating VJ tools and those kind of video mixers.
This one is really it's this background liquid here is one video, and this front is another, and I'm keying them and mixing them live.
Right.
So I'm
Yeah.
taking two good liquids that Pete did during Dreams and then
Mhm.
bringing them in, and they're doing Dreams and I'm mixing it, or they're doing Elizabeth Reed or something. So, it's pretty psychedelic. Now this is really cool. I think this is shows when, you know, the guy like me who's doing hard images and the liquid guy, and we're kind of jamming together and we're just
Yeah.
getting this, just psychedelic look,
And
that's
and if
all.
and it feels good too, like I mean I do a lot of my shows solo, but every time I do it with another person and the person knows what they're doing, it really just makes the whole screen come alive. You get, it feels like there's something really, alive and happening there, which is pretty cool. And I recommend to everybody, if you can find a good partner or somebody to work with, I think that's great because it really you know really makes the feel of the light show come out well.
Oh, and the thing is too, with like Pete was, he calls it his fist, but he just was on beat and on rhythm. And I
Yeah.
worked with other guys that came in and helped me, and that they just don't have it, man. They
It's
don't
a
have.
tough thing. It's a tough thing, it's the simplest thing that just takes some oil and water
And
and
he was just
squeeze
so
it, but you
good.
gotta, you really gotta get a feel for it and develop a technique to be able to
And
control those liquids well.
well, he was like ambidextrous, so he's almost left-handed and
Really?
right-handed. So he
Uh,
was really that kind of helped him. So this
yeah.
is Fillmore, 50 years, Grateful Dead.
Hmm.
Uh, I did a show there just with a DJ, but that's Jerry Garcia and some liquids mix. And now
Yeah.
here's Pete and I back at the Beacon,
Oh yeah.
and this kind of a slow blues with the big shapes. Okay,
Hmm.
and then this was Peach Fest with
Oh
Allman
yeah.
Brothers, and I
Yeah.
just think I just love this shot. It was just a unique moment. It's one of those moments that you
Yeah.
don't see in a liquid light show too often.
No. And those and
And
those are liquids, even though they kind of look like
yeah,
almost like skeletons or something.
well,
It's pretty.
I have like some graphic going behind there. These
Uh-huh.
people,
Uh-huh.
but he's doing this green and this drippy purple. I don't even know how he got that.
Hmm.
But anyway, here's another great shot of us, the combo
Hmm.
jam. He's got his liquids. I got some mushrooms up there, and stuff's flying through the screen. And now this next one is a great liquid, and it's the Mad Alchemy guy again. He just posted this. I think it's a great, just amazing
Yeah,
liquid.
this is a good one. It's several layers of it's probably got, what do you think, like three projectors maybe? I see
No,
some
I
group.
think he's got two plates, and I think he's got a top plate on it, like a little 12-inch or something. But maybe
You
there's
don't
two.
think you don't think it's several projectors with
I
a
don't know.
lot of negative space coming
He
over
said
it?
it was three plates in the post, so I don't know.
Right. I feel like that's actually three actual projectors, and like we talked about in episode 1 with like heavy water, where you really utilize the negative space.
Well, you can definitely see this red plate is a double Corona, and this looks
Yeah.
like almost a double. It could be, yeah, it might be two. You're right.
Right.
I think you're right. But it's just a nice piece of art. I mean, it's
Mhm.
like one in a million. Now, this is one of mine that I really like. This is at Graceland, and they have a 20K projector with a huge screen, and
Mhm.
I just like the explosion that's happening right there. It's just
Yeah.
really cool. So that's a beautiful shot. It's been tiled, but it's still pretty simple. Another
Yeah.
Mad Alchemy, which is really a beautiful plate again. So this is kind of my style. What he
Yeah.
does and I do are similar. And then I'm
Right.
going to show.
Because he was influenced by the Brotherhood of Light, right? Like,
Uh, well, I think he was around. He's my
yeah.
age, and I
Okay.
think he had a regular job, and I think now he's getting into it
Yeah.
as he's older,
Yeah.
and he does a lot of stuff around the Bay Area, and
Yeah.
people slip into the spots that we used to be in.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a call for it.
Oh
Okay,
yeah.
and now this is Pete's hands, and
Hmm.
I just love the shapes. The plate's it's been sitting there, and he's just starting it out. It's just big shapes.
And so again, you guys are just doing oil, just baby oil and water, no alcohol in
No,
this one.
no mineral oil.
That's what I'm sorry. Yeah, mineral oil.
No, this is
Yeah.
just like this is before the show. He's kind of
Yeah.
warming up, but these are plates that match and do really great stuff, as
Right.
different looks. Okay. Now we're going to just pay a little homage to our buddy here, Josh.
Yeah. That's a great
And
photo.
and there's a couple plates, and there's some color wheels, and there's all kinds of weird
Yeah.
stuff, and he's got his liquids, and
And this is like the whole gamut. I mean, he's got, computers, there's color wheels, there's overhead projectors, liquids, actually I can see the thing for the
Oh
for
yeah,
the joystick. Those the
yeah,
thing in the middle, that square and that circle, where they take a
yeah,
tube of light and shine that
right.
through, and that's actually really cool. It makes these really beautiful. As you pull the thing closer or farther away from the convex piece of glass, it actually makes the circle get bigger and smaller. So it creates these
Yeah,
like
and I think they're using
explosions.
Resolume here maybe in that computer. And
Yeah.
I'm gonna go back
I
to
think it's VDM. No, that's
oh,
module 8 actually.
modulate. Okay, so now
Yeah.
we go to the last slide here, and it's going to be the
Yeah.
classic old school where you've got these two pyramids, which are
Yeah.
probably slides that are mirrored. One's flipped. We did a lot of duplicate slides. This square thing here with this thing
Mhm.
in the middle probably is a 16 millimeter movie loop,
All
and
right.
liquid. So that's the three elements that
Yeah.
would you see something like this with the Fillmore Wonderland, that kind
And
of
this
look
is either like Heavy Water or John Hartman, I think, who,
like, yeah.
who was part of Heavy Water. So
Okay,
yeah.
so anyway, let's there we go, man.
All right.
So
So
that
we
was
got
pretty good journey there.
yeah. We got through that one. So that's you know yeah, pretty cool. So I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to do liquids, and but yeah, I think that you guys did a pretty good job with them, and definitely with the standards and stuff that you guys had was pretty interesting. And you guys said if the plate doesn't break right, you get rid of it or you start a new one.
Yeah, that was,
Yeah,
it was like that's how we did it, if
yeah,
some if it just wasn't happening. And then there's times that like I did a show with Brian Epps one time, and none of us could get his plate to break.
hmm,
Pete tried it, Steve Goldsmith from Liquid Light. I tried.
yeah,
I mean, they were in another room doing Wilco, and I was in another room. It was doing another
hmm,
band, and we could not get his plate to work. But sometimes that happens. And he kind of mix like you do, where he pours the oil in, he pours this in, he pours the dye
yeah.
in.
Because I do, I often do my stuff. I will have pre-made plates, but it depends on the show. Like if it's like a high-profile show or something where it has to look good, I will pre-make the plate. And because I want to guarantee that I deliver a good plate, when that hits the screen. But I do also, for more experimental stuff, though, I do like to make the plate like right on the screen, because while those liquids and the different dyes are mixing in, it does a lot of cool things. So I find you get like a lot of mileage, like you do the first song or something, and just letting those like liquids kind of blend in with each other and everything. I think that's something that I try to do, but it can be haphazard because sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And especially during like, let's say like a show is actually happening, right? And the room's filled with people and there's a lot going on and the adrenaline's rushing. It can be pretty easy to like accidentally throw a little bit more alcohol in there, a little bit more of this liquid that you didn't really want, and suddenly it blows the whole thing out. And now you're stuck like, oh
Well,
crap,
that's the thing.
and that's like yeah.
You
So
don't want that. I mean, so like okay, he'd have that blue plate mix, which I showed in that one slide. And then, so we're doing like when we did with Dickie for years, we're doing blue sky. He just has a blue plate. And I'm doing like
yeah.
skies and eagles and stuff. And that's our opening song, and then, I might do something hard image with mushrooms or something to kind of follow the theme of an R&B song. And then they're going to go into some instrumental jam. And then he starts adding top plate colors. And
Right.
then, and that's kind of our progression, how
Hmm.
we do it. But we can't, when you're working and there's like, $50 tickets and 3, 4,000, 5, 10,000 people, you
Yeah.
can't afford to
You can't
fuck
take
up.
those chances. Yeah.
No, no.
Yeah. No. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like high profile stuff, definitely make sure you deliver a good thing. But if it's something like looser, it's fun to do it the other way as well and take a chance.
With the V4, you could colorize, so you could have
Yeah,
two
you can colorize
plates
it.
of
Yeah.
colorize, and so you'd have two plates, and you'd mix one. When one would get too bubbly, you bring
Hmm.
in the other one is settled, and so you
Yeah.
could keep jamming all night and keep consistently look good. And but sometimes the bubble look like, I think we should end this show pretty quick. But I mean, Jerry Abrams, I told this story to you. I was doing the Melvins at the Kennel Club, and he's using Jerry's projector, and I mixed a green plate with a red and yellow top, and kind of grunge. The Melvins are like grunge
Yeah.
band,
Yeah.
so I'm doing all this grunge with them, and I got these weird comic book slides and stuff going. And so then Jerry comes in to do the mud honey. Him and Reed are doing the mud honey, and
Oh yeah. Yeah.
and so he goes, can I use your plate? I said, yeah, man, go for it. So he wipes the top plate out. He goes, it's beautiful. That's a beautiful plate. He tells me. Cool. He wipes the top plate out, and he just takes it and goes for about 5 minutes and just makes all these bubbles.
Yeah.
And then during the show, he's got all this MC Escher shit with all these color wheels and animation wheels. It's like this intense show going on with this punk band, right? And then he just like takes the plate and goes like that, and just, and his aesthetic was completely different than what I was taught and what I do. I mean, I've done that, but he wanted the heavy bubble, radical, intense look,
Right. And I mean, and everybody's got their own look, and like the hand of the artist, and while you guys stuff is amazing too, there's everybody's got their own, way of doing it. So I think like there's no real one right way to do it, even though you guys had for your, you had the right way to do it.
Well, there's no rules to light shows.
There's no rules to light shows, what I'm trying to get at.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll just end with that one right now. Okay.
All right.
Because that's it. There's no rules.
There's no
rules. You guys
rules
out there in the Psychedelic Light Show Preservation Society and everybody else, do whatever you want. If it looks good to you, it's good to me.
Yeah.
I just saw it was taught a certain way, and that's the way we do it.
Words to live by. All right. Well, thanks everybody for checking us out. Hope you've been enjoying the shows. We got a couple of more for you, and we'll see you on the next one. All right. Peace.
Check us out. Thanks.